ESL programs DISD should consider, ISI number 2, Program Models, by Amanda Esquivel. Before we get started, there are a few questions we should cover. What is ESL? What are ESL programs? And what are the benefits of an ESL program? What is ESL? ESL stands for English as a Second Language. ESL is an intensive English instruction by teachers trained in recognizing and working with language differences. What are ESL programs? ESL programs provide an intensive instruction in listening, speaking, reading, writing, and comprehending English. What are the benefits of an ESL program? ESL programs develop competence in English and prepares English learning students to be successful in all academic subjects. A law that mandated bilingual education was the Bilingual Education Act of 1968. The Bilingual Education Act of 1968 provided funding for school districts to develop bilingual education. This act was the first federal recognition of the educational needs of students with limited English speaking ability. This act provided education opportunity and equality for language minorities. This is how ESL programs began. Another law that mandated bilingual education was the Castañeda versus Pickard case. The Castañeda versus Pickard case brought more attention to the way school districts administered and monitored progress of bilingual education. This created the Castañeda test. The Castañeda test had 3 criteria. The first was theory. The school must pursue a program based on educational theory, recognized as sound or at least as a legitimate experimental strategy. Next was practice. The school must actually implement the program with instructional practices, resources, personnel necessary to transfer theory to reality. And the last was results. The school must not persist in a program that fails to produce results. The first program model I present is a submersion model. A submersion program places ELLs in a regular English-only program with little or no support services on the theory that they will pick up English naturally. This is not to be confused with a structured English immersion program. This type of program does not meet the needs of ELLs. Districts will not be in compliance if this is the type of program being offered. This method of sink or swim offers no support, scaffolding, accommodations, and etc. to facilitate the acquisition of English. One pro of this program is that the children develop initial literacy in the immersion language. But a con is, of course, that it's a sink or swim method, that either they'll learn English or they won't learn English. The second model I present is the Transitional Bilingual Program. This program, also known as Early Exit Bilingual Education, utilizes a student's primary language in instruction. The program maintains and develops skills in the primary language and culture while introducing, maintaining, and developing skills in English. The primary purpose of this program is to facilitate the ELL's transition to an all-English instructional program while receiving academic subject instruction in the native language to the extent necessary. Classes are made up of students who share the same native language. A pro of this is that it's early exit, but they will not be in this program for their whole school career. A con of it is that it is possible to view the program as a segregated one, meaning that everyone in the class comes from the same culture. The next and final program model I introduce is the two-way bilingual education model. The goal of this model, often referred to as dual language program, is for students to develop language proficiency in 2 languages by receiving instruction in English and another language. This program teaches native English speakers side by side with children who are learning English. Teachers usually team teach, with each one responsible for teaching in only one of the languages. This approach is sometimes called dual immersion. A pro to the two-way bilingual education program is that it provides proficiency in both languages for both groups of children, and the native language is not being completely replaced. A con, on the other hand, is that parents fear children might have identity issues and forget their roots, and seeing instruction provided in native as a crutch and not so much as an aid. The purpose of my presentation today is to present some program models for ESL programs for DISD to consider, and I believe the best choice is the two-way bilingual educational program. The instructional infrastructure of dual language programs provides greatly increased educational productivity because it offers full rather than partial achievement gap closure at annual costs comparable with existing programs. Traditional programs for English learners provide only remedial, watered-down instruction in playground English, virtually guaranteeing that the native English speakers will outperform English learners and thus widen the achievement gap over time. English learners need enriched, sustained forms of instruction that allow them to receive support in their first language while learning a second language. Dual language programs offer English learners a mainstream curriculum, which leads to English proficiency and curricular mastery, with instruction provided by monolingual and multilingual teachers who already work within the school system.